Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. I am really excited for today's video because I'm not going to share with you one, not two, but three tools that I use in the Interactive Brokers web app that really help me trade well. Um, for a lot of y'all, I know y'all use Interactive Brokers, and I have said in my previous videos as well that Interactive Brokers is my favorite broker. And I'm really excited to share the tools I use, which make it so easier for me to trade. For any of our viewers who do not have an account with Interactive Brokers yet or haven't checked them out, I'm going to leave a link in the description below. Do click on that link. It will take you to the Interactive Brokers webpage where you can find all the details. I'm also going to link a previous video I had done about Interactive Brokers and the platforms that they offer. They do have multiple platforms regardless of the trading journey you're on. I use the Interactive Brokers desktop app, and the tools I'm going to be using for today's video are going to be from the desktop app. Before we move on to the content, I do want to give you all a big shout out because I am really appreciative of the support I got on my previous videos. A lot of you all DM'd me, messaged me, letting me know how my content has been helpful for you all in your trading journey. When I did start this journey, it was my goal to try and make a little bit of impact on the community, and I'm happy that I am taking the right steps towards that. So thank you so much for reaching out. If you haven't already given me feedback, please do put it in the comments below and let me know what you thought about this video or any past video and how I can improve as a creator. So let's get into the desktop app. I'm going to log into there and then I'm going to take you through my top three tools that I use in the Interactive Brokers desktop app. See you there. So once you're in your desktop app, the first thing you're going to see is your portfolio. And the first tool that I use that I feel has helped me a lot, which sounds very simple, is your watch list. I know for a lot of y'all, this might be like, Raj, what are you talking about? It's just a watch list. I love it that when I'm organized, my trading is much better. And for me, trading in a much organized way means I need to know what scripts I'm looking at. What that means is, say, we had tech earnings last week. When you're talking about tech earnings, instead of looking at an individual stock, you want to see how the sector is probably reacting to that as well. So what I normally would do is I do have a favorites. So these would be the equities that I look to trade on a daily basis. So that way it helps me quickly make my decisions when I'm looking for a trade. If I see some momentum in a certain sector, I know if I should probably look at an ETF of that sector to try and catch that momentum. If I see that a certain sector is probably taking a hit because of some activity that's happening outside the stock market, which we have seen recently. So we could also catch that. What you can do in this in Interactive Brokers is you can have multiple watch lists. So example in mine, you can see I have favorites. I have my semiconductors. I love trading my semiconductors. And the third ones are my futures. I do trade futures, so I make sure to look at the futures. I do the continuous contracts. In these, you can definitely do, your specific contract. So your June contract for the coming one, I just like the continuous one. So I really don't have to sit and worry about, moving my contracts forward. So what this does is to give you a simple example. I walk into the market, right? So the market's going to open at 9:30. I wake up at 7 a.m. and I'm sitting in front of the charts. I'm sitting with my coffee, and I kind of start seeing that the semiconductor sector has been seeing a little bit of push. So my thing is, okay, semiconductors is seeing a push. Then this will help me analyze if there's any specific one that's being an outlier in terms of the contribution to that sector. We have seen a lot of times that there might be an equity which is giving it, a lot of boost, and that single equity, once it takes a hit, it also hits the other stocks harder because they haven't moved at a 1-to-1 ratio. This is something that I have seen. It also helps me when I'm looking at earnings. It helps me to understand the volume, if there is a specific high volume coming into certain sectors. And then it also gives me kind of long term ideas when I'm trying to maybe invest in a sector. I do say have a conviction where I want to be investing in a sector, but sometimes you also need a confirmation. So a lot of times when you're looking at the equities in this sector, they might be on a longer time frame in the chart, making a higher low and a higher high, and you might have seen that it might be forming a bottom. But the confirmation is what helps you do your entries, because I'm a big believer of averaging in, and that's only possible when you understand the charts. You all can have multiple watch lists here. You can just click on add watch list and you can add more watch lists here. I try to keep it very simple. So that's why in mine, you all see is my favorites, which is most of the equities that I want to trade in, the semiconductors, because that's the sector that's been hot for a while. And that's the sector, if I'm looking to play probably an option or, average into buying equities. And the futures, obviously, because I love trading the futures a lot of times. You might be able to catch the momentum quicker on the futures than on, an equity, because the equity might be in a lag. So this being said, do let me know how y'all have your watch list set out, and if y'all thought that a watch list was only there to give you price action in terms of, oh, you can compare multiple prices, but not really analyzing and thinking that with the price as well, it also helps you with your decision making, because now you're trying to see, sometimes say, three of the equities are in the same sector, and if two of them are moving in a positive direction and the third one is kind of holding the same bottom, even though it might not be moving in the similar speed of that upward direction, that to me indicates an opportunity in the third equity to really get into a call, because my risk to reward might be higher because it's already being supported by the other two sectors. And if it keeps on holding that bottom, at some point or the else, we're going to see that momentum move back up. So that's something that has helped me. Do let me know in the comments. And now I'm going to move on to what my second tool is. Feature that I'm going to talk about is advanced charts. So let me explain. Y'all are like, Raj, what is advanced charts? So we all know that every equity has a chart. So we analyze the chart and then we make our decisions to say probably buy that equity, sell, all of our other decisions. But there are tools that we can use to really customize it and make it our own. And it's all available on interactive brokers. I'm surprised at a lot of times when I'm talking to people and they're not even aware of all the amazing tools that are available on interactive brokers. So let me take you to an equity. Let me pull up the chart and let me show you all what I do to make it more customized and more likely to adjust to my trades. All of that in front of you on Interactive Brokers. So let's go to AVGO. So that's an equity that I have been seeing, but I haven't traded. So once we come here, I do want to remind you all that all this information is for educational purposes only, and none of this is a buy or sell recommendation. Please make sure to talk to a licensed agent so that you can make sure that your trading journey and your investing journey is done right. So we are on AVGO, which is Broadcom. You do see your watch list on your left side. So once we do that, let me just make sure we only look at the charts right now. At the moment, the chart has a VWAP, and the volume. So what I normally do is when I'm looking at a chart, the first thing I would do is I would make sure to go to the 15-minute time frame. The reason I say I do that is it helps me do something which a lot of us do is helps me understand the support and resistance on the equity. So say example, we are on the 15-minute chart. I have never traded AVGO before, but let's just say I want to, based on the research, I want to see how the equity is going to react if it comes to a certain level. So let me just make sure I zoom out a little bit more. And looking at this, I would go to the tools which are available here. So we have a tool where we can draw, say a rectangle. And I'll tell you why I'm talking about a rectangle instead of a line. I know a lot of y'all look at a line. For me, I do a rectangle specifically because I feel for a support or resistance, a lot of times it could be a zone. So it could be, say, 2 points, 3 points, and just having it exactly at that point, say, just to give you a rough idea, if we're looking at a round figure of, say, 420, because we see over here that it held and it went up. If I just draw a simple line here, if you see over here this fake out, obviously not this candle, this was a very big momentum candle, but this candle over here, if you look at it, what would that do is if I have my stop loss over there, it would come stop loss hunting. So it would come, hit my stop loss, and then move in the direction. And all I can do as a trader is just watch it because I won't be able to chase it at that point. And specifically for me, I do not believe a lot in chasing because that has made me lose a lot of money in the past. So let's just do something simple. So we'll look at this range. I'm going to look at, so what I try and do is a minimum of 2 to 3 touch points. So what is 2 to 3 touch points? So over here, let me draw it first so that I can show it to you all. The color might be a little dark. You can definitely adjust it. I will show you all that as well, but let me make sure to show you all what I mean by the 2 to 3 touch point theory that I was talking about. So I drew it from here. Over here, you see 1, 2. Then when we come over here, 3, 4. So it has touched the bottom 4 times. So what that means for me is if price action is above that, I'm looking to see if it holds and reacts to that. But if price action is below this, I'm trying to see if it rejects and continues down. This week definitely is a little bit different. And that wouldn't really be a week that I would take into consideration, even this high volume week, because if you see it went down and came right back up. So if you're trying to take a trade on this, it would be very difficult for you to know where your stop loss would come. A second source of my validation for this would be I would come to a smaller time frame and then see, okay, I do see that there is price action over here. Again, I do see price action here, definitely not to the T. This one's a little bit to the T. I'm sorry. And these ones not to the T, but we do see a rejection here again. Over here, we do see a hold. a hold over here. This was a fake out, but we do see it broke above, held this, and then it had a nice continuation of 4 points. So that could have been a trade. Over here, it gapped up, tried to push, came back, tested this, and then had a continuation. So for me, these are very important because this is where a lot of sometimes when you look at other tools, a lot of buyers, a lot of sellers could be sitting. Also, something to watch over here is this is 420, so it's a very psychological level. Round figures normally tend to be psychological when you're trying to be in a trade, but this would be one thing that I do. As you see, while I was making sure that I was drawing my lines, I was also testing it on multiple time frames. So what that means for me, say example, if I'm looking to take a trade that I'm going to be holding the same day. So what I mean by that is I'm going to close it after the momentum, or I'm going to close it regardless by the end of the day. I look at the 1 minute to the 5 minutes. So these are the two charts I would be looking at. If I'm trying to see if I can catch a continuation. So say I enter it, it's definitely in profit. So my stop loss becomes break even. But the continuation, I feel that, there's a lot of buying coming in, but definitely, every equity has a limitation to move in a single day. I do see that the futures are aligning, also the sectors aligning, and we might see a continuation of that push. I would go for the 15 minute, or sometimes I would even look at a little bit of higher time frame of an hour in that case, because sometimes in an hour it will show you the buying. So even though this is a red candle, you do see that big wick that's been forming here. For me, seeing a wick like this would mean that buyers are still trying to defend their position. So I would be like, okay, I entered over here. I definitely, could have taken a perfect exit. I haven't come across a trader who's had a perfect exit all their trades. We do anticipate a continuation movement. That's why we are traders. We make decision based on the data that's available on the chart. But sometimes, as mature traders, it's very different. You definitely could have taken an exit here, but you do know it's going to probably come and test these highs because the market's been breaking all-time highs and a continuation is possible. A little bit of pullback is not harmful at all. You do have to consider, after a run up like this, there are going to be people who are going to book profit. There are going to be people who are going to try and get the price action down so that they could get an entry for it to continue on. If in this trade you look at a few red candles and it kind of makes you exit a trade, and then you have a continuation. I always feel you want to control your emotions. So you want to work on your whole emotion. So you might be over leveraged, or you might, just try and play, say, if you're looking to play futures, instead of minis, play micros. So that way you can actually feel how it feels to try and catch a bigger trade. And that feeling is what's going to be with you when you size up or go into a little bit of a trade that is not an A plus but is a B, but you know that the continuation is possible. In this, there is also a lot of tools. I also try and make sure to understand my risk. So, say if I'm looking at a long position, I would click on the long position over here, and I would set this red zone. So, obviously, say for in our case, I would look at an entry at 420. I would pull this up to a 419, and based on the 1 hour chart, I would try to target 425. So this really helps me analyze my risk to reward ratio, and also what that means if I'm entering a trade after seeing a confirmation. There's definitely a lot of tools you could use. There's also fibs in here for pro traders who are familiar with fibs. They could use fibs and all the tools that's available on other platforms where you have to pay for those. It's available for you for free, including the indicators. I don't know if you all remember, I said at the beginning that the VWAP and the volume was added, but a lot of the other indicators like Bollinger Bands is available over here that you can add to your chart over here, make the decision, including your EMAs, SMAs, and take your order right here. So there's less distraction if you're going back and forth between a different app and you're coming back here. I really enjoy it, and I feel a simple chart can be made an advanced chart just by using all these tools. Say, very simple. A lot of times, say when I'm making these videos, I love to add text, and this tool really helps me just add a text and say hi. So this is really cool, and most importantly, it helps you level up while you're trading, because the less decisions you have to make outside trading, the more you can really focus on your trading. And charts are very important because charts are the ones that are giving you the data and are the ones that's telling you a story. So this is amazing, and I know I say this a lot of times, but to have all of it in one place, it's taken me a lot of time, to understand the importance of, the market's volatile and the market's going up, and I'm trying to make a decision, but I have to go from one screen to another screen and then come back, and by that time it's missed my entry, and I'm as a trader now, I have to decide if I have to chase it, not. But having it all here really calms me down and be like, okay, I'm looking at the price action. I know my levels. I know the buy order. I put in a limit order. It comes, it hits my limit order. And after that, if it goes, it goes. If it hits the stop loss, at least as a trader, my confidence hasn't been broken because I made an educated decision over there, and that helped me. And that's possible on the Interactive Brokers app. Um, so again, I'm gonna leave a link in the description below. If you do not have an account with them, I do recommend you give them a try. They have all these amazing tools, and you definitely do not want to miss the third one. The third one is my personal favorite, and let me take you on the journey to the third one. All right, viewers, are you ready for the third one? Before I do that, if you stayed this long in this video, please don't forget to press that like button, subscribe to my channel. 98% of y'all who watch my videos aren't really subscribed, and I would really appreciate y'all if you subscribe. It helps me as a creator, and it really helps motivate me to make more videos like this and create more value for y'all. So the third one is a very underrated tool that's available on multiple apps, but I'm going to talk about interactive brokers. The third one is my personal favorite, and it's none other than the screener. A single place where you can filter stocks based on specific criteria, sectors, volume, you name it, and you can definitely find a section over here. Instead of doing that manually, you can come to this section, which is readily available for you in your interactive brokers. It's just simply amazing. And I feel if you haven't used this tool, it's your time to really use it. There are so many amazing things. So, first, let me break down what the top section is. Obviously, the section over here is self-explanatory. It is, if you want to just make sure to look at US stocks, Asian stocks, European stocks, ETF options, that would be it. Looking at the American stocks, you can do it based on, the sector you're looking at. On your left-hand side, you can use a lot of these customized features. So you have these standard screeners available for you, but You could also customize it to fit your need. You might be a trader looking to invest in equities that have a high dividend yield. You come over here and you say, okay, I want something that has a high dividend yield. What it's going to do is from all the equities over here, it's going to take all the stocks and it's going to adjust it based on the dividend yield and the criteria that is already inbuilt. You can increase all the sections over here, and there is so many tools that you would go crazy thinking about it. The one I use, let me take you to that. And something that I really like to use when I am trading is the option volume. What this does to me as a trader, or what story it tells me, is the amount of interest that's coming into an equity. And what does interest coming into the equity mean? It means for me that there is volume coming into it. So, say if I see that there is a momentum that's been happening and that's been coming into a certain equity, I come over here to see that if is it going to be a momentum that's going to continue? Because for continuation, you need a lot of volume. Because you might see a gap up, and there's a lot of times that you have seen that there is a gap up, and then the next thing you see, it starts selling off, and you're like, I just bought the top. What really happened? Well, you just didn't see that if there was a lot of interest coming in. And the thing that has helped me a lot is option volume interest, because a lot of times people could definitely be buying equities, but to get that exponential movement, they're looking to invest that money into options so that they can catch that momentum in terms of 100x. So just to give you an example, if you buy an option of equity that is equivalent to buying a contract for 100 shares of that equity. And definitely I'll do a video with all the details and getting into, what is an option and all the probably just even show you an example of one of biggest winning option trades. But an option volume tells me a lot of story. This also helps you, something as simple as just the gainers. Definitely, if this is the pre-market data. So, a lot of this is what Tuesday early morning looks like. Market hasn't opened yet, so I'm really excited for today's market. We do have data coming out today, and there's one thing that means after the data, we'll definitely see a directional move. Last week has been really interesting. The market broke all-time highs, saw a continuation, and for future traders, that was a wow moment because Friday, if I'm not mistaken, was one of the biggest days for NQ in terms of the momentum it had. So that being said, a screener is very important where it really simplifies and sorts out based on a concept you have. So what is really important for this is you need to have a concept in mind. So the one I showed you was about option volume. But say you might be looking at growth. You might be looking at a certain sector that's upcoming. For a lot of y'all, I know dividend yield is a very important thing. For people who get really into, the information in the chart, the profitability in terms of the operational margins and all of that amazing things, you could find that here and it would give you a breakdown. And then obviously you have to go and dig in a little bit more. The IPO stocks on how they have been doing. Obviously, you have the gainers, the losers as well. If you're trying to catch, something that's on a lower premium compared to the book value, we have seen a lot of those stocks as well. Stocks which have upcoming dividends. A lot of times, investors are looking to invest in an equity to cash in on the dividend yield as of the hold of that day. And lastly, earnings. It's earning season right now. So, for a lot of y'all who might be looking for earning plays before or after, this is an amazing uh, section as well. Uh, Please make sure to understand that the screener, what it does is once you have a clarity in your mind of what you're looking at, it can guide you in a direction where it gives you the data for that. But if you go into a screener without really having the clarity of what exactly you're looking at. The screener could also be a tool which will really confuse you as well because there would be a lot of data thrown at you, and then you would be like, okay, what am I looking at? I'm looking at dividends? Am I looking at earnings? Am I looking at gainers? Am I looking at volume? And it's going to mess with your decision making. So make sure to have that. For me personally, it has helped me a lot with more constructive and concrete decision making. And why that has been important for me is like every trader, you start on a journey where you do not have those green days or green weeks or green months. And it sometimes when it's building up, you start questioning if you're doing the right thing. In that momentum, that questioning takes a toll on your confidence. So, a lot of times to build your confidence, you need to backtest your strategies or you need to backtest what you really thought about. I actually made a video about backtesting and how you could use interactive brokers to backtest a strategy of yours. I'm going to link it in the description below as well. But to backtest that, sometimes you need a sample size or you need that data. And in a screener, you could just put a specific data point and get that data, and then take that data and then use all that information to backtest your strategies. On interactive brokers, I am using the desktop app. So once you log in, you're always coming onto your portfolio. Over here, we spoke about your watch list. We spoke about the advanced charts. We spoke about the screener. There's a lot more in interactive brokers. I wanted to make sure that I keep this video short because the morning would really be not enough if I go to talk about all the amazing things that's available on interactive brokers. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you really enjoyed it and you got value out of it. Like I mentioned at the beginning, again, if you haven't given interactive brokers a try, I'm going to leave a link in the description below. Hit that link, open an account with them, fund that account, use these tools to take proper trades. And let me know how that experience has been. I have had a lot of traders who opened an account with interactive brokers and came back to me and said, oh, wow, I didn't know this tool existed, or this tool has made my trading so much easier. And when I make these videos, that's what I keep in mind because my role as a creator over here is to create value for my audience. And by the easiest way for me to create value is to share what has helped me. So thank you again. I wish you a great trading journey. I cannot wait to connect with you on the next video because as I'm making this video, I already have a concept that's coming up, and I might just get to work on that next video as well. But thank you again. Do leave your feedback in the comments below. And as always, I will see you soon. Have a great trading day. Be safe. It's data day today. You do not want to lose your money. It's your hard earned money. And coming out green or coming out break even is still considered a win. Have a good one. Bye bye.